Last week, the governor of Cyprus's central bank resigned. Now, the new governor said Cyprus's economy and the banking sector will win back their credibility. The economy shrank only 5.4% last year. The Troika initially projected a fall of nearly 9%. I'm joined by Sofronis Clerides, an associate professor at the University of Cyprus. Now, the situation is not as bad as previously thought. Do you agree with this? And what are the reasons for this?
Yes, it's true that the situation is not as bad as we feared a year ago. The expectation from Troika was for a recession of 8.7%, and many analysts, independent analysts, were actually expecting even worse. The final numbers are indicating about 5.4%, as you said, which is substantially better. There are several reasons for this. Basically, the two main sectors of the economy held up well. One is tourism. It was a good year for tourism. And the second is business services, which perhaps was the biggest surprise because we were expecting a much bigger hit in that sector because it depends a lot on foreign investors, foreign companies, which took a big hit after the haircut. And there was a fear that a lot of them would abandon Cyprus. It turned out that they did not. Some did, but not that many. And the sector held up surprisingly well. And so things did not turn out as bad as we were fearing. It also, the other factor that played a big role probably was that private consumption, did not drop by as much as expected, which it's not fully clear why. It seems that people had enough savings that they used up during this period, and so consumption held up better than expected also. Now the question is, how long can this last? Hopefully the economy will turn around soon enough so that people will not start running out of savings.
Now, Cypriots remain pessimistic about the economy due to challenges such as high unemployment. Unemployment fell very slightly in January, but do you see it falling further anytime soon? And how is the government tackling these challenges?
Yeah, unemployment is the biggest challenge for any economy facing such high levels of unemployment. Especially in Cyprus, because we are really not used to such high unemployment. For the last 30 years, we had unemployment of the order of 3, 4, maximum 5%. So this is having unemployment of 17% is quite shocking. Another indication of that things did not turn out as bad as we feared is that unemployment was actually pretty close to 15% already last March. So it only went up by a couple of percentage points since then, and it has been pretty much stable since for the last 5-6 months at around 17%. There's a question. It's not clear. I'm not sure I can say that I expect it to go down very soon. I think it would be a very slow process of unemployment going down. We know that once unemployment gets to such high levels, it's very difficult and it takes time for it to come down. Even after the economy starts recovering, unemployment always lags behind. The government is doing all it can, is implementing several plans to help employ people who are out of work. This can help a little bit, but unemployment can really only go down to sort of acceptable levels when the economy is back in, at regular growth rates, and that will take time.
So, Sofronis, what will you be watching out for over the coming months?
Well, the biggest challenge continues to be the banking sector. The right steps have been taken over the last few months. It seems to have stabilized, but we still have capital controls, and we need to lift them as soon as possible. Cyprus is an open economy with a very outward-looking. That's not, having capital controls in this kind of economy is not good. So But of course, there are risks to that because of the situation, because of the big hit. So we definitely have to be looking at making sure that there's continued stability of deposits. We have to be preparing for the lifting of controls and making sure that there's support for the banks for when that happens, in case it's needed. And the biggest sort of challenge in the sort of medium run is a liquidity problem, because the banks, even when they're stabilized, they're still not in a position to lend much to the private sector, to investors, because they are trying to build up their their buffers, and which means that there's not much liquidity in the economy, and it's difficult for people, especially small and medium enterprises, to get funding. And that, I think, is going to be the biggest challenge and the biggest factor holding back the economy in the next couple of years. And anything the government or outside forces can do to help in that area, I think it's the biggest single thing we can do to help the economy, is to help provide liquidity to the economy, help finance businesses and finance investment projects that are going to get the economy going.
Sofronis, thank you very much. It was a pleasure speaking to you today. Well, viewers, do stay tuned as we have plenty more economic updates heading your way.